So the Water Integrity Network, which works with a range of partners around the world, looks at advocacy within the international sector and trying to get international organizations to pick up on issues of integrity. We also work very deeply in 3 countries in particular, in Kenya, Bangladesh, and Mexico, but in a whole range of other countries as well. And then we do a lot of work around developing tools that can enable people, organizations, to improve their integrity, looking at research around the whole issue of integrity and corruption in the water and sanitation sector, and offering training to individuals and organizations around the issues of integrity. And since 2014, WIN, cewas, and SIWI have been engaging with water operators globally, supporting change management processes and internal reforms in order to help them to minimize their reputational, compliance, and legal risks related to integrity issues, and to improve performance and service delivery, to strengthen integrity, and to improve their customer relations. This work has been based on one of the tools which we have, which was developed in collaboration with GIZ and cewas some time ago, which is the Integrity Management Toolbox. And you'll be hearing a lot more about that and how it's been used and what its impacts have been. To date, this toolbox has been adapted to improve performance and strengthen integrity in 12 countries and with 50 water operators. It's a very adaptable tool that looks at integrity risks across the categories of management and leadership, financial management, human resource management, customer relations, and procurement. And we've now also developed an integrity assessment methodology for water integrity, for water operators, which we did with IADB, which combined with the IM Toolbox provides a comprehensive evidence-based approach for integrity management in utilities or operators, which we call InWASH. So in this session, this interactive session this afternoon, and we do hope that it will be interactive, water operators who've worked on integrity management projects will be sharing their experiences from the coalface, what really happened. The structure of the session is that we're going to have 3 short video statements from utilities that have been through the integrity management process, and that will be followed by a Q&A session. And I would now like to introduce our very impressive and very experienced speakers that we have this afternoon. The first, let me introduce Engineer Peter Njaga, who is a professional engineer with over 25 years experience in design, construction, supervision, operation, management, regulation, and capacity development in the provision of water and sanitation services. He's past chairperson of the Technical Committee on Regulatory Issues of the Eastern and Southern African Water and Sanitation Regulators Association. Previously, he's been the Director of Technical Services and the Director of Licensing Standards and Advocacy at the Water Services Regulatory Board of Kenya for over 10 years, and currently he's the Acting Chief Executive Officer at WASREB in Kenya. He also serves currently on the Advisory Committee of the Global Advocacy for Health, Safety and Dignity of Workers in Sanitation. Then we have Ms. Tahira Firdaus Begum, who is a member of the Bangladesh Civil Service Administration cadre, currently posted as Deputy Managing Director of Administration at CWASA since the 29th of June 2020. Previously, she was the Secretary in charge of the Chattogram Development Authority. In the past, she was also the Chief Revenue Officer and Commercial Manager in CWASA between 2008 and 2011. And I must say, I'm particularly delighted to introduce Ms. Begum to you, as she's one of the few female senior managers in water operators in developing countries. So it is an honor to have her with us. Mr. Alvaro Herrera is advisor to ASA in Open Government, Transparency and Integrity. He's a lawyer with a master's in Latin American Studies and a PhD in political science. He's a specialist in open government, transparency, and the rule of law. And he's been a consultant for UNDP, UNICEF, IDB, USAID, CAF, and the World Bank in development projects in more than 17 Latin American countries. Between 2016 and 2019, he served as the Undersecretary of Institutional Quality and Strategic Management of the government of the city of Buenos Aires, where he led the open data strategy and was responsible for the creation of the Office of Evidence-Based Policies, the first government office responsible for data governance in Argentina. He's also the co-author of the book Open Government and Public Innovation, The Pillars of the New Governance Agenda, published in 2020 by the Universidad Abierta Interamericana. He's currently an advisor to ASA on open government, transparency, and integrity. Mr. Marcelo Rogora is the Director of Integrity and Best Practices in ASA in Argentina. He is a lawyer from the University of Buenos Aires and has more than 17 years' experience in the sector. Currently, he's leading ASA's integrity program, conceiving prevention, awareness, and training as the fundamental and necessary tools to accompany all areas of the organization in the training and promotion of integrity values, good practices, and transparency as pillars for decision making. And then we have Isabel Alvarez, who is a certified environmental engineer with 6 years of experience in design, management, and coordination of international development projects in InWASH, food security, and water management. She's currently working in the Water and Sanitation Department at the Stockholm International Water Institute, SIWI, which is a leading organization in water governance globally. She leads the implementation of integrity programs in Latin America together with the Inter-American Development Bank and provides support to the implementation of WASH programs together with UNICEF. So you can see that we have a lineup of some very experienced and very interesting people to speak to us this afternoon. So without further ado, I suggest we get into the meat of it and let's go to the first statement.
Barbara, it seems like we cannot hear the video.
Yeah, Lou, we don't seem to have sound on the video.
I will share it again then.
Hello, everybody. My name is Engineer Peter Njaga. I'm the Chief Executive Officer of the National Water Regulator in Kenya called WASRED, and we are based in Nairobi, Kenya. I want to respond to the 3 issues specific to this gathering. One is to what extent are integrity issues affecting the water service provision in Kenya? And 2, I also wanted to respond to the extent to which the regulator has involved the operators. And thirdly, the extent to which the regulator has involved the operators, community water users, and also other people in terms of water services. When it comes to integrity, Kenya has its fair share of challenges. And one is on effectiveness and efficiency in terms of investment. And the other one is on efficiency of operation of these utilities, which is manifested in very high non-revenue water and low O&M cost coverage. In terms of support to water operators, WASRED has developed guidelines. Key among them is a corporate governance guidelines that give direction on oversight of the utilities. And secondly, WASRED has also developed the integrity management toolbox with support of developing partners, mainly to support the small-scale providers. When it comes to the extent to which WASRED involves communities and water users, WASRED has public participation at the center of its operation. WASRED do every year annual reporting so that stakeholders can take into task the performance of their water utilities. I want to conclude that in terms of streamlining water service provision in the rural areas, WASRED has developed guidelines for rural water service provision, and these guidelines prescribe appropriate service delivery models for water service provision in these areas. Thank you.
Thanks very much for that, Lou. Can we go on to the next video?
cewas is one of the largest
utilities in Bangladesh in terms of its size and population served.
In 2017, a project applying integrity management toolbox has been initiated by NGOs on behalf of Women with Chattogram Water Supply and Sewage Authority. The project supports CIWASA in Bangladesh in addressing integrity risks by using the integrity management toolbox, which is built on integrity assessment and management with the goal of both strengthening integrity and improving performance. The project's ultimate objective is to boost Bangladesh efforts to achieve the SDG targets. The project also aligns with the country's national integrity strategy. We are making progress in terms of integrity and ethics. In 2018, CIWASA developed an integrity management roadmap through the application of the integrity management toolbox for managing the integrity change process. This process has helped CIWASA identify the integrity risks we faces and choose the best integrity tools to manage them. The organization began implementing an integrity roadmap in 2019, which has helped to strengthen accountability mechanisms in the field inspection process. Siwasa has also improved the mechanism for customer complaints by moving to a digital system. Siwasa's efforts got the notice of the national government, which gave the utility its National Integrity Award in 2019. We think more campaigns are needed to expand integrity management tools and its practice. It also needs to be disseminated between large and small utilities through demonstration projects. We think the government needs to be strongly involved, in which case policy advocacy can play a very important role. Thank you all.
Thanks very much for those words about Kwasa. And can we now go on to the third video?
AISA Sociedad Anónima tiene como objeto social la prestación del servicio público de provisión de agua potable y colección de desagües cloacales, alcanzando aproximadamente 14 millones y medio de usuarios en el ámbito geográfico de la ciudad de Buenos Aires y 26 partidos de la provincia de Buenos Aires. Desde el punto de vista de la gestión de la integridad y la transparencia, en AISA existe una firme convicción respecto a la importancia y necesidad de planificar y ejecutar acciones en concordancia con los valores y la cultura de la empresa. Se busca que dichos valores, asociados con la integridad, repercutan de forma directa en la implementación de las políticas que AISA lleva adelante y que nutra al accionar no solo de todas las personas trabajadoras de la organización, sino también de los y las usuarias y en todos los actores y etapas de la cadena de valor de la empresa. En términos institucionales, AISA cuenta con una dirección especializada en integridad y buenas prácticas, cuya misión es la implementación y gestión de un programa de integridad sobre la base de la prevención, la detección y, en su caso, la remediación de acciones que pudieran ser contrarias a los valores éticos y la normativa de la empresa. Dicha normativa ha sido aprobada desde el más alto nivel de la organización, es aplicable a todas las personas trabajadoras de AISA y ha sido publicada en la página web institucional de la empresa. Es importante resaltar que AISA viene desarrollando un trabajo conjunto muy valioso con el Consorcio por la Integridad, el cual está integrado por 3 organizaciones muy importantes como WIN, cewas y SIWI, con la coordinación del BID en el marco de una cooperación técnica regional en materia de integridad. Desde el año 2019 se está trabajando con dicho consorcio de manera mancomunada, generando una sinergia muy importante. En particular, se destaca un valioso instrumento como la caja de herramientas, orientado a mejorar la gestión de los riesgos de integridad. El uso de dicha herramienta ha permitido relevar los riesgos de integridad de AISA para su monitoreo y remediación. Actualmente se están revalidando dichos riesgos y trabajando en el diseño de una encuesta online que permitirá obtener información relevante de cada una de las áreas internas y así poder obtener las métricas necesarias para el monitoreo y la gestión de los riesgos. Por último, es importante destacar el compromiso de AISA con la transparencia en un sentido integral. En tal sentido, se ha lanzado el programa ISA.data, una plataforma pública y accesible a través del portal web de la empresa, donde se concentran todas las iniciativas de ISA en esta materia, incluyendo los temas de transparencia e integridad, participación ciudadana, transformación digital y gestión de los datos abiertos. Esta iniciativa apunta a poner los datos y a los usuarios en el centro de la gestión, generando un ecosistema innovador de transparencia y participación ciudadana.
Thanks very much for that. And we will now move into the question and answer session. Isabel, it's over to you to lead the discussion.
Great, thank you so much, Barbara. So I will welcome all of our panelists for this discussion session. I will be asking you some questions that I'll be directing to each one of you. You will have 2 minutes to answer each one of these questions, and then we will take some questions from the audience. You can type in your questions in the chat box, and once we gather these questions, we will answer them from the participants. So first, the first question is addressed to Engineer Peter Jaga. The first question is, what do you see as the main benefits of implementing integrity principles and tools for water operators? Please go ahead. Is he connected? We cannot hear you.
Engineer Jaga, are you with us? Isabel, I think move on. Let's see if we can track down what's happened to him.
All right. Then we have another question for Ms. Tahira Ferdows Bergam. It's what do you see as the 3 main benefits of an integrity approach for water operators?
Before answering the question, I would like to introduce my organization, from which anybody can get a clear idea about the role of an integrity approach for water operators. CIWASA was established in the year 1963. At that time, there was a huge gap between demand and supply. In order to minimize the gap, at present, we are able to shorten the gap between demand and supply by taking various types of surface water treatment plant, such as Sheikh Hasina Pani Shodhanagar 1, Sheikh Hasina Pani Shodhanagar 2, Sheikh Russell Pani Shodhanagar, and Bhandar Juri Water Supply Project. Nowadays, our production capacity is 500 million liters per day, and demand is 420 million liters per day, in which surface water percentage is 90% and underground water percentage is 10%. In near future, CIWASA will produce 100% surface water, which is in line with our national strategy plan. According to Sustainable Development Goal 6.1, that is ensure sanitation and supply water to all, we are implementing different types of completed and ongoing projects within 2030. Besides this, CIWASA carried out a master plan about sewerage and drainage system, which was financed by the World Bank. According to detailed area plan, that is DAP, of Chattogram Development Authority, CDA, there are 6 catchment for sewerage systems. At present, we are working about the catchment 1, which is financed by our Bangladesh government, and the remaining 5 are reviewing by different donor agencies. At all this success history of CWASA, which I have mentioned above, was possible by taking different steps in which integrity approach also play a vital role. The 3 main benefits of integrative water approach are as follows, in my opinion. That is, by ensuring uninterrupted water supply, we can ensure our sustainability. And by minimizing the loss of water, we develop our self-reliance. And by addressing the problem of customers, we can make our organization customer friendly. So, by applying integrated management tools, CWASA identified 4 major risks. That is, poor performance of the contractor of CWASA, weak complaint management mechanism, and improper operation and management works. And the last one is improper meter, that is manual meter and meter reading. To reduce or address these 4 risks, CWASA have taken following steps. That is, one is we introduced field inspection systems. We also introduced customer complaint center and district metering area, staff motivation, giving different types of training to the staffs, and punishing them for their bad works and rewarding them for their good works. Thank you all.
Great, thank you so much for your answer, Ms. Ferdows. Now we will go back to Engineer Jaga to answer the same question. So, what do you see as the main benefits of implementing integrity principles and tools for water operators? Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. The benefits of promoting integrity in water service provision cannot be gainsaid. If you look at it, one, it promotes exclusivity. If you look at our target areas, which mainly are the rural areas, and that is basically where the majority of the population live. So, and these schemes have a lot of challenges in terms of sustainable water service provision, in terms of maintenance and the likes, and yet they serve the bulk of the population. So when you embed integrity in the operation, then you end up, covering the majority of the population, and in line with the SDG 6, you leave no one behind. So they promote exclusivity. And then the second question I want to respond to is that why does it that working with operators, when operators work with regulators, does that to improve service provision? What are the benefits? One, we know that regulators set standards in terms of water quality, in terms of water losses, and even in terms of operational cost recovery. And these are the key challenges with most of these rural schemes. And so when you have the regulator working with these operators and promoting these standards, this goes a long way in trying to enhance the progressive realization of the right to water. Again, as I said earlier, that the majority of the population falls under these community small water schemes. The other advantage of operators working with the regulators is that one of the mandate of regulators is reporting annually on the performance of these utilities. So when this information is put to the public, this promotes social accountability, and consumers can be able to take into account their water supply provider. And this is one way of also trying to promote integrity. So water operators and regulators need to work in partnership. One, to enhance the progressive realization of the realization of water, the right to water, and two, to also promote integrity. And this goes a long way in ensuring that there is sustainable, and I want to emphasize, there is sustainable provision of water services. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your intervention, Engineer Jaga. So next, we have a question for Mr. Marcelo Rogra, who's the Director of Integrity and Best Practices in Water and Sanitation Aiza from Argentina. Are you here with us, Marcelo? ¿Estás aquí conectado? ¿Nos escuchas?
Buenos días a todos. ¿Cómo estás, Isabel? Bueno, sí, aquí estamos. A ver, para nosotros los principales beneficios para aplicar principios y herramientas de integridad para una empresa como AISA, que es una empresa que cuenta con un 90% de capital del Estado y un 10% de participación de los trabajadores, es muy importante porque prestamos un servicio público tan fundamental como el agua y el saneamiento, y por dicho motivo aplicar herramientas y principios que garanticen la transparencia y la integridad es absoluto y es de una responsabilidad mayor. En ese sentido, aplicar principios como por ejemplo la evaluación de riesgos de integridad para nosotros es fundamental. AISA viene realizando un trabajo muy importante con el Consorcio por la Integridad a través de un financiamiento con el BID, en donde nos permite analizar e identificar los riesgos de integridad a los que la empresa está expuesto, y por tal motivo nos permite tener herramientas y acciones concretas para mitigar esos riesgos y trabajar de una manera preventiva en nuestros procesos y en nuestras acciones que hacen al servicio público que prestamos. O sea que desde ese sentido es de un valor muy importante y estratégico aplicar principios y herramientas que tienen que ver con la integridad. Por supuesto también que aplicar o que la empresa cuente con normativa interna directa relacionada con integridad también es de un valor fundamental. AISA cuenta con código de conductas, cuenta con distintas políticas que hacen a la gestión de situaciones concretas de la integridad, por ejemplo, gestión de conflictos de intereses, un protocolo de actuación ante denuncias o ante determinadas consultas sobre algún supuesto, alguna posibilidad de que se produzca algún tipo de irregularidad. Eso también es muy importante porque recordemos que para nosotros detectar, o mejor dicho, prevenir, detectar y en su caso corregir es uno de nuestros pilares del programa de integridad que ahí se está gestionando. Hay otra cuestión que es inevitable también y que tiene que ver con la conformación y continua, digamos, de una cultura de integridad para todos los que trabajamos en la empresa, incluso sus stakeholders o socios de negocios. Es muy importante saber y conocer cuáles son los valores que inspiran a la empresa y de dichos valores, qué es lo que la empresa también está esperando de nosotros, los trabajadores de la empresa, para prestar un servicio de calidad y prestar el servicio que vaya acorde, digamos, con los valores que la organización está promoviendo. Con lo cual, nosotros hoy en día estamos en una visión, intentando ampliar esa visión de integridad. No solamente estamos abocados a nuestra gestión de nuestro programa de integridad, sino que estamos tratando de generar nuevas acciones para abrir un poco nuestro campo de acción, sobre todo a la ciudadanía, que para nosotros es fundamental. Por otro lado, como les decía, AISA gestiona a través de esta dirección de integridad y buenas prácticas, el cual yo la represento, tiene como misión fundamental gestionar un programa de integridad. Siempre la mirada, y creo que esto es muy importante, es la prevención. O sea, nosotros como prestadores de una empresa tenemos que apuntar a prevenir, fundamentalmente a prevenir situaciones no deseadas, situaciones contrarias a las buenas prácticas. Por supuesto que en el caso de que se detecten dichas situaciones tenemos que dar las respuestas adecuadas y necesarias para garantizar el servicio público que la empresa brinda. Con lo cual los beneficios son muchísimos y estamos en ese camino desde el 2019, que hay un área específica que es esta, y venimos trabajando de manera mancomunada con la alta dirección de la empresa a través de la presidenta de la organización, que es la licenciada Malena Galmarini, y por supuesto también con el acompañamiento de nuestro sindicato, de la mano de José Luis Ligeri, que es el secretario general del mismo. Bueno, sería eso más que nada, Isabel.
Perfecto, muchísimas gracias, Marcelo. Thank you very much, Marcelo. So We're going to continue to the next questions. The next one will go to Ms. Tahira Ferdows. It will be, from your experience, what do you recommend to water operators in relation to introducing integrity management? Please go ahead.
Ms. Ferdows আপনি আছেন? Hello?
Yes, Ms. Tahira Ferdows, can you hear us? If you could unmute yourself. She might be having issues. We're going to go then to the next question for Engineer Jaga. How can water operators work with regulators to improve service through integrity? Please go ahead.
Engineer Jaga, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. I can hear you. I think when I spoke for the first time, I alluded to that and say that if you look at the role of regulators set standards, and these are standards that have to do with the water quality and in terms of efficiency, in terms of operation. And so when regulators set standards that operators comply, specifically like if it has to do with water quality, that leads to improved health of the community. And the community that have improved health is a very productive community. The other aspect is a question of reporting. Regulators also report, and it's very important. If you want to promote integrity, you have to bring in transparency, and transparency is just reporting on what is happening. And when regulators do this, everybody can take their utility into account in terms of performance into quite a number of areas. So that partnership between operators and the regulator is quite key in trying to make sure that we are progressively moving toward the realization of the right water. Thank you.
Thank you so much for those insights. I will check now if Ms. Tahira, can you speak now? We cannot hear you somehow. I can see you're speaking, but we cannot hear you. I think she's unmuted, but we cannot hear her somehow.
Isabel, maybe move on while we try and sort out the technical problems.
Okay. Yeah, I see her speaking and everything, but unfortunately we cannot hear you. We're going to continue in this case, right? Marcelo, could you please let us know if you can hear us? Can you speak? ¿Nos escuchas, Marcelo?
Sí, los estoy escuchando.
Muy bien, ok. La siguiente pregunta es, de acuerdo con su experiencia, ¿cuáles han sido los mayores desafíos al implementar los principios de integridad y cómo se pueden manejar dichos desafíos?
Bueno, a ver, primero, cuando AISA comenzó a desarrollar el programa de integridad, lo primero fue, por supuesto, crear todo el basamento normativo que le da fundamento, digamos, de norma interna al programa de integridad y a todas las herramientas que AISA cuenta. Ese fue un primer desafío que nos llevó un cierto tiempo porque, por supuesto, tuvimos que relevar, digamos, los riesgos de la organización para poder aplicar mitigantes y saber concretamente dónde cuál era el contenido de esas distintas políticas y códigos de conducta que teníamos que aprobar en la organización. Pasado ello, por supuesto, un trabajo muy fuerte de comunicación y de capacitación a todo el personal sobre estas nuevas medidas o sobre estas nuevas políticas vigentes en la organización. Y actualmente esto nos ha llevado a un periodo, digamos, esto es constante, es algo dinámico y es algo que no se agota con cumplir en un determinado acción y después, digamos, no seguir. Siempre es necesario con la constante comunicación y las constantes capacitaciones. Actualmente, pasado, digamos, esta base, lo que nosotros actualmente estamos haciendo es tratar de abrir un poco, como lo manifesté antes, abrir un poco el concepto de integridad, hacerlo más general, es decir, no solamente hablar de integridad y de transparencia respecto de los núcleos duros de integridad, como son los códigos, las políticas, ese tipo de cuestiones, sino también teniendo en cuenta además el tipo de organización o empresa que somos y nuestra responsabilidad como prestadores de un servicio esencial como es el agua y el saneamiento, ser conscientes del impacto que tiene en las políticas públicas relacionadas con el agua y saneamiento todas las acciones y los procesos que nuestra empresa desarrolla. En ese sentido, estamos trabajando y ya está habilitado, digamos, en la página web institucional corporativa de AISA, que es www.aisa.com.ar, un portal o un programa que se llama aisa.data. A través de este programa lo que hemos intentado hacer es ampliar nuestro universo y llegar a la ciudadanía y a nuestros usuarios de una manera directa en la comunicación. AISA Data es un programa que tiene 4 ejes fundamentales. Por un lado, la transparencia y la integridad. Por otro lado, la participación ciudadana. Por otro lado, la transformación digital. Y por último, la gestión de datos abiertos. Quiere decir que en este programa lo que la empresa quiere realizar es poner a disposición de la comunidad y de los usuarios en general aquellas acciones que la empresa realiza. Por ejemplo, hay un tablero de obras que es muy importante en donde se encuentran allí todas las obras que la empresa está gestionando, ya sea en etapa de planificación, sea en etapa ya de adjudicación o licitación, y aquellas que efectivamente se están ejecutando. Esta herramienta es muy útil y también hace a innovación y a la transformación digital, porque no solamente permite dar a conocer y darle participación a nuestra ciudadanía, sino que permite la interacción. Es una herramienta que hace que el ciudadano, cuando ingresa a cada obra, pueda georreferenciarla, tenga, digamos, las direcciones precisas y el estado preciso en que se encuentra, y hasta incluso permite, a través de una fotografía que cualquiera a través de un teléfono móvil se puede sacar, permite, digamos, esa interacción y que nos envíen cualquier consulta o cualquier tipo de situación, digamos, que nos quisieran comunicar. Con lo cual, nuestros desafíos actuales básicamente apuntan hacia ello, apuntan hacia la participación ciudadana y tener un vínculo más fluido que nos aporte valor agregado a nosotros como empresa y a nuestra gestión de la integridad, y por supuesto siempre repercute en última instancia en la ciudadanía. Con lo cual, esos son los desafíos que actualmente AISA está emprendiendo en materia de integridad.
Genial, muchísimas gracias, Marcelo. Muy interesante. Thank you very much, Marcelo. So I think, I don't know if Ms. Tahira is already able to speak. If we want to make another try. I don't think we can hear you.
হ্যালো মিস বেগম, আপনি কি একটা মাইক্রোফোনের যে আছে ওইটাকে আনমিউট করতে হবে? আপনার কাছে টেকনিক্যাল সাপোর্ট আছে না সামনে দাঁড়ানো? ওখানে আনমিউট করতে। এই হয়েছে। না, হয়নি। আনমিউট করতে হবে।
আমিন ভাই ডান দিকে একটা আপনার আছে, যে ডান দিকে যে আইকনটাতে আপনি চাপ দেন, ওখানের মধ্যে আপনার উনি মিউটেড আছেন।
Isabella, suggest can we continue with the other questions while we try and sort out? There's clearly some technical problem for Ms. Tahira.
So I have a question in the chat. I can see it says, this question is actually for Engineer Daga. It says, how can operators comply better with standards set by regulators? And what is Kenya doing to ensure partnership between operators and regulators? Please go ahead.
Thank you. I think I want to respond to that. One is that in the Kenyan situation, the operator is doing a lot to build the capacity of the operators. One is that we've realized that the challenge we have in Kenya is not more so lack of resources or lack of water, but is a governance issue. So we are doing a lot of capacity building to operators on governance, but we have not only stopped there, we've gone ahead and developed a governance guideline. And this governance guideline focuses on a number of areas within a utility. And one, it looks at utility oversight, that to what extent is there transparency, to what extent is there public participation in the operation of the utility. This is an indicator that we have come up with, and we report on that annually. And I think out of about 91 utilities we have seen a lot of improvement with that. And this has gone a long way in trying to improve sustainable water service provision. We have things like trophies, awards for those who do very well in governance. And again, in our governance guideline, we have stated clearly the kind of persons who should give oversight to the utility. That is very well actually regulated that. And we also demand our utilities once a year to engage the stakeholders and inform them of the progress of the things they are doing. But most of all, we are family, the regulator in Kenya and the operators are family joined through what we call the license, because water service provision is by license. So when we issue a license to an operator, all these conditions are spelled in there. And what is required of the operators is to go by the condition that are in that. Thank you.
Great, thank you so much for this. I think I'm going to pass on the next question. I don't think we have solved these technical issues. So, Marcelo, te voy a preguntar otra pregunta que tenemos aquí. Me dice, la integridad no es el tema más atractivo para los gerentes y las juntas directivas. Según su experiencia, ¿cuál es la mejor manera de iniciar estos procesos y garantizar su apropiación al interior de la organización? Gracias.
Bueno, a ver, yo creo que desde el punto de vista de la experiencia que hemos tenido en AISA, realmente la alta dirección de la empresa le ha dado siempre un valor preponderante a la integridad. Principalmente porque uno conoce cuáles son los datos de diferentes estudios, que sea el BID, la OCDE y diferentes, digamos, convenciones sobre la lucha contra la corrupción, nos brindan y sabemos, digamos, cuáles son los riesgos de integridad y sobre todo a qué riesgos, digamos, la empresa podría estar expuesta en caso de que ellos ocurran. Con lo cual, en AISA, la verdad, ha partido desde arriba hacia abajo la importancia de generar un área específica como es la Dirección de Integridad y Buenas Prácticas. Desde el punto de vista institucional, eso se refleja también en que esta dirección reporta al directorio, al presidente, a la presidenta, digamos, de la organización, que es la presidenta del directorio. A su vez, la empresa cuenta con un comité de integridad y de buenas prácticas que está integrado también por miembros del board de AISA, de los cuales mi dirección o la dirección que represento participa mensualmente de dichas sesiones. Allí se tratan los temas cotidianos, digamos, que van surgiendo en la gestión, digamos, de la integridad en la empresa, y aquellas propuestas que ya sea para profundizar algún cambio o alguna mejora. Con lo cual, en AISA, digamos, ha sido algo que se ha dado de manera dinámica y desde la alta dirección y por supuesto también desde el sindicato, siempre ha habido un trabajo mancomunado y se ha trabajado mucho también en la comunicación. Es decir, nosotros recibimos el apoyo constante de la alta dirección cada vez que tenemos que comunicar algo y Y bueno, esa es la manera y la dinámica a través de sesiones, digamos, mensuales y mucha comunicación que de algún modo también la integridad está dentro de los temas, digamos, que aborda el directorio de la empresa.
Perfecto, muchísimas gracias, Marcelo, por compartirnos esto. Ahora, now, sorry, we will ask questions to our colleagues. I guess I have a question here for Daniela. If you could kindly share about challenges with integrity strengthening, what are the lessons learned and how?
Can you hear me? Excuse me, I'm Tahira Firdaus. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Oh, thank you, thank you.
All right. Are you ready to answer some questions now?
Yes.
All right. Okay.
Yes, I'm ready.
Great. So, from your experience, what do you recommend to water operators in relation to introducing integrity management?
Thank you. I would like to say something from my experience of my organization. What we have learned through integrity management tools is that, like our organization, the other water operators can establish district metering area, and they can also establish customer management center for using customer complaint tracking system in order to reduce the non-revenue water drastically. And our aim is to make it a single digit. Now it is in our organization, it is in double digit. We want to make it in a single digit and enhance our financial benefit as well. Since CIWASA is a self-reliant organization, that is, all expenditure is made by ourselves. We don't have any financial support from our government authority. We want to financially viable, we must have to adopt such type of mechanism which reduces our revenue loss, and at the same time which increases the customer satisfaction, which is very important factor for the organization, like our organization who provides services to the customers. uh, because in this case customer will get the water which is going to be lost. Furthermore, by establishing customer management center and using customer complaint tracking system, any customer can easily lodge their complaint through the system to the authority. Then the authority can take actions immediately to solve the problem, and thus customer satisfaction level will be growing higher. Thank you all.
Great. Thank you so much, Ms. Ferdos. I'm so glad that you were able to speak with us today. Great. So I think since we have 7 minutes left, I don't know, maybe Binyak, would you share with us some of the challenges with integrity strengthening, some of the lessons learned that can be overcome, and any recommendations that you would like to share today for operators who want to apply the same methodology?
Thanks, Isabel. Yeah, very quickly to mention that from my experience, when we introduced the integrity management toolbox in Bangladesh, initially it was a bit of a challenge because since as we are talking about how do we address the issue of corruption, it's a sensitive topic. So it takes a bit of an effort to convince. Initially, there is a bit of hesitancy, also like reluctance to engage, to understand like, because they think like, who are you to come and address us on corruption? Yeah, I mean, this is definitely a challenge, but then like it requires that time. So it took us quite a bit of time to engage with them. I can say also with Chittagong Wasa or with other Wasas, we had an engagement period of at least 4 to 6 months. And after that, they were very convinced that, okay, this is something which is useful for us, which basically means that like, we are not going to impose anything on you. We are providing with the tools, with the means, and you are free to look at like, what are the different risks you have. You prioritize your risks according to your strategy, and then try to apply some tools over a period of time to bring in the changes. And this is what has happened in most of the utilities we have been working with. And I also would like to mention that it is always good if you are able to align your integrity management process with your own strategy, with any other initiative from the government of your country which addresses integrity challenges. So, for example, in the case of Bangladesh, CIWASA aligned their integrity management project with the national integrity strategy of the country. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you so much, Nia. I don't know if Daniela, we have a couple of minutes. Would you like to complement something with this, maybe in the experience of Latin America?
Thank you, Sahel, and thank you, Binayak. Yeah. So no, just to follow up a little bit on what Binayak was saying and a little bit on what Marcelo was saying in his intervention, I think that integrity and fight against corruption is not the most attractive topic for organizations and for managers. But what we have identified is that that even though it's not the most attractive topic, it does have a lot of costs and a lot of risks if it materializes within the organization. So Barbara touched upon a little bit at the beginning in terms of financial costs, but also we have a lot of social and environmental costs when this kind of risks materialize. And then I think that one of the key elements, or one of the key ways of starting strengthening integrity within organizations, is to generate this engagement and to understand that even though it's not the most attractive topic, we have to start talking a little bit of the elephant that's in the room and start identifying what's the best way from the reality of the organization to start facing this issue. As well as Engineer Peter Nagyobe was mentioning, this is also something that is in the agenda of the regulators, and it's also in the agenda of the donors. So I think that what we are seeing in the sector is that every time we are having more strict regulations in terms of integrity, and the service providers that don't start implementing these topics now are going to be a little bit left behind in answering to these risks or to these new demands that the market and the governments are passing upon us. And just to close, I think that from our experience in Latin America, we have identified 5 key elements that really help to drive this process of change towards integrity within service providers. And one of them is the identification with this vision of change, basically to understand why and what's the objective of implementing these processes towards integrity, maybe to mitigate or to prevent the materialization of these risks, but also to improve the engagement with different stakeholders or different other elements that we have discussed today. The second one, and it's key, and I think that Marcelo also mentioned it in his intervention, is to have this leadership in the process. We really need to have a key engaged person and engaged management that's really engaged with leading this process, with investing the resources, both human resources and financial resources, that this process requires, also because they understand the benefits that come out from it. Also, the participation of the employees. We have also mentioned that this process is not something that happens only here. It's not something that is restrained to one area of the organizations, but it's something that is cross-cutting to all the things that service providers do. So it's really key to have this bottom-up processes and the participation of everyone through trainings or other elements we have discussed today. And finally, it's very important to communicate the change. So basically, communicate which are the initiatives that are being implemented and which are the challenges as well that we have identified and the lessons learned. So I think that, that's mainly all. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Daniela. And I think we have 2 minutes left. I want to thanks to all of our speakers today. We have received very good insights of your experience with implementing the principles of integrity, and we have discussed the main challenges and various lessons learned. I would like to now...
Yeah, can you give me a minute? I comment. Just 30 seconds.
All right, please.
Yes, yeah. I want to say this issue of integrity, I think the right word is corruption. And it doesn't sit well when we talk about it, but I think we just have to talk about it. And the thing is that it manifests itself in many forms. You try to stop one end, then it comes out from the other end. And so it is not just enough to set up systems or to build the capacity. I think we also need to see to what extent can technology help us in trying to enhance integrity. Things like machine to machine, communication, because we know it takes two. In the Kenyan situation, we have two very good examples that we have seen that have contributed a lot to enhancing integrity. One, when it comes like payment for water bills, over 90% of utilities are now able to pay through mobile money. I mean, it's not a cash transfer at the counter. And then when it comes to complaints, most utilities now have a mobile sort of way of complaining that you can use your phone and give your complaint to a utility, and if it is not resolved within a certain number of days, the same complaint is enhanced to the regulator. So what I'm trying to say is that we must use all sorts of forms available, all sorts of means to be able to make sure that integrity is well embedded, and technology has space for this, automation has space for this. Thank you.
Yes, definitely. That's a very good point. Thank you for bringing that up. Now, Barbara, please.
Thanks very much. Can you hear me? I seem to have a frozen picture, but I'm hoping that you can hear me.
We can hear you.
Good. Very briefly, because I think we've virtually run out of time. I would just like to very much thank the speakers and everybody who's been listening in on this session, and I hope that your questions were well answered. I think that we've heard a lot from the coalface about how, despite the fact that integrity might not initially be a sexy topic or an attractive topic, but actually it is a critical issue for people to take on, and that the benefits from taking on improved integrity practices are very real and very practical and on the ground. And in our struggle to meet the SDGs 6.1 and 6.2 in particular, with 2030 rushing down on us like a speed train, improved integrity practices are a critical element of building the good governance and the professionalism that is needed to actually be able to deliver on SDG 6. So I think that we need to recognize the value of integrity and how much it can actually deliver to an organization by actually putting in place these kind of practices and improving integrity all around. And so once again, thank you very much to everybody who has participated this afternoon, and let's keep the conversation going. It's an important conversation for us to be having. Thank you very much.
Thank you and bye-bye.
What? Already over?
No, we have plenty more options to continue the discussions and peer exchange beyond the Congress.
Tell me more. What are the options?
Well, SIWOPA membership, for example. By becoming a member of SIWOPA, everyone can connect to a global alliance of practitioners and experts. There are two ways of becoming a member. First, institutional members. Institutions can participate in SIWOPA's assemblies and are eligible to run and vote in its international steering committee elections. Or second, individual members. Individuals can connect and engage with peers in the online SIWOPA community. We have created a space that allows for networking and easy communication. Meet future WOP partners, stay up to date on project opportunities, and participate in peer-to-peer learning opportunities.
Sounds great. How can I join?
Simply go to www.siwopa.org and register for free. If you want to know more, you can follow SIWOPA on social media and subscribe to the newsletter. Thanks for joining the 4th Global WOPS Congress. We'll see you soon.